Hello and welcome to this episode of the Business Spotlight. Today we are joined by Ben and Dan from Crane's Cider. Hi guys. Thanks very much for joining us today. So what is the Business Spotlight? So the Business Spotlight, it's a place for you to find out a bit more about business, more specifically about Ben and Dan's business today. And if you're thinking of getting into business, or if you're already on that entrepreneurship journey, you're in the right place. So guys, if you could just let the audience know who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for, please.
So my name's Ben, and I'm Daniel. We are the co-founders of Clean Cider, and we've been doing it for 12 years now. You might have spotted we are identical twins, and that's great running a business.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. So what would you say that makes you guys stand out more than anyone else doing something similar to what you guys do?
So a few years ago, I think our biggest USP was that our ciders, our fruit ciders especially, were fewer calories compared to brand leaders. And actually, that's what gave us quite a lot of traction. So when the pandemic hit, we were actually in all the supermarkets, and that was probably the key point that broke and got us into the supermarkets. But I do all the accounts, and having looked at that, realised that we don't actually make much money from it. And it's all great. I think it's all look at us in all the supermarkets. But actually, when it comes down to the business, we won't make much money. So now I would say our probably biggest standout is we're focusing more on basically quality, local, and sort of authenticity. Even though our fruit ciders are sort of fewer in calories, we use natural fruit juices and they're not as sweet anyway. So it's just quality product now.
Yeah, it's just premiumized. The market's premiumized lots, so people are drinking less, but when they do drink, they want to drink quality. So everyone sees that market trend, and we sort of work ahead of the game in terms of high quality anyway. So we're sort of transitioning away from all the supermarkets where it's a drive to the bottom in terms of pricing, and focusing on the pubs and bars, and especially that regionality that that we didn't really capitalize on and realize the power of until more recently. And it was always a bit of a catch-22. If you're in the supermarkets, the pubs didn't want to stop them because they were, well, we can go get it to the supermarket half the price, if not less. So now it's a case of, right, it's very hard to manage both at the same time. So we've realized the supermarkets aren't for us. And now we're transitioning into the pubs and bars and focusing regional.
Fantastic. That's brilliant news. Well done. Congratulations. So I mean, what would you say? I mean, if you was to do like what I like to call a whistle-stop tour of the business from, when you originally set the business up, and then sort of like take us through some of the highs and lows and sort of bring us up to speed to where you are now with the business, guys.
It's been a good 12 years. I mean, if you look at when we first started, it looked completely different. So we've adapted and changed a lot. I mean, when we first started, and actually it's where the name comes from, we originally fermented cranberries trying to make a healthier alternative to cider.
Yeah.
So, originally cranberries were called cranberries back in the 1600s. So that's where the name cranes comes from, because we fermented just from cranberries. And then from there, we were doing all these different farm shop events, and we're just doing all these different little events, trying to sell products here and there, going to pubs. I think at one stage we went on all the different news agents around Cambridge, and then giving them stock to put it into their shelves to see how well it would sell, and really just trying to get the brand out there as much as possible. I think having done a lot of these markets and food stalls, we got a lot of feedback from people saying, "Oh, what is it?" And it was so niche and different that people didn't really understand what it was. So a lot of people were saying, "Oh, so you ferment cranberry, so it's like cranberry cider." And we're like, "No, but maybe." So we then developed it and changed it. So we then started fermenting cranberries on with apples and called it a cider, and rebranded it. And that's when we made it into a healthier cider. And that's when we start getting traction with the supermarkets.
So once people understood what it was, so they always said, well, when you see the product on the shelf, you've got like 3 seconds to try and captivate a customer's attention.
Yeah.
And if you lose it, whereas if people look at the product and have no idea what that is, then they're just going to move on to the next thing. So as soon as we had a category that made sense to the consumer, and they could see the primary saying that we know what that is, the fruit ciders were on the boom, and everyone was understood what fruit ciders were. So that was the change for us, the pivotal moment. That meant that actually people started really buying into the brand, and that was quite a few years ago.
Yeah, actually, one thing that always stands out to me was when we first started the product. And actually, we've got a lot of time for them, but basically, the waitress buyer at the time, about 10 years ago,
Yeah.
he said to me, he goes, I said to him, I've got this really cool, unique product. Like, it's so unique. And I think in our heads, we said, you know, to break the market, it has to be unique. Like, and you'll just break into it. And I think we realized we're so niche that there was no market. So, but anyway, they were like, where does it go on the shelf? Where we put it on the shelf? And we're like, oh, we'll put it next to cider, I guess. They're like, well, but it's not though, is it? It's a fermented cranberry drink. Like, it'll probably go in the RTDs, the ready drinks. And we're like, oh, we don't want to be there. Like, well, you got an option, really. And then when they went to pubs, and they're like, well, where do they go on the menu? And we're like, it's not the beer, it's not the cider, it's not the wine. And we're like, yeah. So it's also helped us change and develop.
Yeah, I think everyone says you've got to you can break the mold a little bit, but I think also you've got to very much be aware when you're getting feedback to take that on. So, like, say for example, if someone turned to Elon Musk saying no one's going to buy electric cars, like, and most people were probably right about 20 years ago whenever he started. And if you listen to everyone's criticism saying you're wasting your money, then he wouldn't have carried on.
Yeah.
But see, there's that. But then obviously, if we carried on with our primary treatment for fermenting, so there's balance in terms of listening to feedback and getting some insight from people who are in the industry, and then also fighting the current mold.
It's a balance of to listen to and what not to listen to, and but anyway, so we have come a long way, and we're in all the supermarkets, and people sort of think, oh wow, you're in the supermarkets, you made it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, great. And actually, we've come back full round circle, like moving away. We've had some of them approach us, when we were saying, well, okay, we need to get it down for this price, so we can sell it for this, or this kind of stuff. Like, no, like it's just a race to the bottom. So, and you also got to adapt and change the market and what we're looking at the market. Everything was premiumizing and everything was becoming, higher quality, and we didn't want that.
Yeah.
So, oh, sorry. Phone call. So now we are just focused on sort of local pubs, the on trades, and authenticity. So we've done a long journey, but it's been a fun one.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. And I mean, what a journey it's been so far. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, to get your product into the supermarkets, I mean, that's brilliant, guys. So, kudos where kudos is due. So that brings us up to speed then. I mean, it sounds like a bit of a trailblazing journey that you guys have been on. So what does the future hold? I mean, what are the challenges that you think you're going to have going forward?
I mean, we are very excited. I think we're in a strong position now. I think we've learned so much over the last 10 years, 12 years. I think, we have a better idea of what we need to do as a business. And so, we are going to be focusing on East Anglia and just focus on local. But then, we're also enjoying it now, probably more so than we have done in the past, which is great.
The key thing is in the enjoyment of it. If we go back to the last, maybe obviously being 12 years, but 10 years, the 10 years of us starting, what was driving us to run the business? And like, it was probably ego, and there was a place of like, oh, I want people to see me as successful, and now there's been a transition. So actually, I'm just going to enjoy the journey, and I'm not here for anything apart from that. And then when you're there for that, then the whole journey and the working is enjoyable. So where you're going is just a result of your enjoyment of every day. I think that's the key for us.
Yeah,
is we transition into that and we enjoy what we do.
Well, I think that's the key thing, isn't it? I mean, you mentioned there, I mean, that you've been running a business now for 12 years. So you're obviously different people now to what you were 12 years ago when you originally launched the business. Brilliant. So, okay, so moving on to yourself then, guys, what would you say, and I don't know who wants to go first, Ben or Dan, but what would you say has been your biggest lesson in those 12 years of running the business?
So I think we touched a little bit on what we just said. Obviously, we were very young when we first started. And I think when I first started, I was just coming out of university, and I was thinking, you know what, if we get into supermarkets or just create a product or get, X turnover, so then you sort of like, well, job done, well done, you're going to feel fulfilled, you're going to have that sort of achievement, all unlocked, well done. But sort of realized that wasn't the case, and each time you got to each milestone, even though, oh, well done, you don't, but you don't really, you've always set the bar further ahead, so you're always consistently growing and wanting sort of more. So I think my biggest lesson is, I think, that you have just got to enjoy the journey, and sort of you've got to enjoy the process and what growth you get out of the journey, rather than, you don't get fulfillment from these goals really. It's all from the process really. So I would say that's my biggest one. I mean, as a probably, but that was more of a general one.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of a lesson when it comes to focus. So when it comes to more business specific, is focus. And I think realistically, for instance, we actually had we went on Dragon's Den back in 2018, and Deborah Meaden said something to us that we did take on board, and we took on board. She basically said, at the time we're making our ciders as well as a lot of different spirits. And on Dragon's Den, they actually focused on our gin more than anything else, because I think the gin craze was quite big. At the time, we're doing a lot of, in 2018, we're doing a lot of shows, like we were saying, and we were saying a lot on different trades and markets. And so we thought, well, actually, the more products you have, the more things you can sell, the more turnover you can have at these shows, which I guess worked at the time. And then, each lesson is a lesson learned. So what we realized is that actually we had too many different products, and when customers came to us, and, cranes, what is it? Oh, I don't really know, because they make all these different products. We didn't really focus, and therefore it took away from our speciality and what people knew us for. So realistically, we need to have good focus. And she said to us, well, what do you do? Like, what are you? People need to know if you need to make cider, or you need to make this. So we're like, actually, our main product is a cider, and that's what we've always focused on.
Yeah.
So we're now stripping away everything else and just focusing on cider. So I think one thing is realised you need to have focus on that customers understand what you are as a business and what you specialise in.
Yeah, I think the classic is busy fools. Like you can always find something to fill the time and act busy. But actually, that's one thing I've, like, my personal realization is actually, maybe if I develop, like, everyone thinks, oh, I need to work every hour on set, then. But actually, if you actually spend some time focusing on yourself, like generating a more positive mindset, or exercising, or doing some things that can bring a slightly more positive outlook, or personal development things, like, I don't know, there's loads of things you can do to work on yourself. Like, you're the main driver for the business. If you're in a positive place and growing, then that's actually automatically going to grow the business.
Yeah.
So if I feel like if I actually sit out less hours, when we saw it sitting, it was like 90-hour weeks when we were like in the first, I don't know, 7 or 8 years.
Shows every weekend, making the product ready for the shows.
Just constantly work. Wow. Actually, if we set aside 20 hours a week of personal development, I think actually we would have progressed a lot faster and further. As a result. So I think sometimes it's not I need to put all my energy into the business. No, put energy into yourself.
Yes.
And then that will actually translate into success in the business as well.
Wow, that's a fantastic share, Dan. Thank you very much for that. And thank you for your share as well, Ben. So that's great. Thanks, guys. So, okay, so moving on to the golden question. This is one of the questions I love to ask. So, Ben, Dan, if we were able to go back in time, so just humour me, if you will. I mean, I'm born in the 70s, raised in the 80s kind of kid. So whenever I think of time travel, I just think of this DeLorean hitting 88 miles an hour. So if we were able to jump in that DeLorean and go back in time, and we was able to go back, and we could go back and see an 18-year-old Ben and Dan, you guys got to have the knowledge that you've got now, but you was able to give one piece of information, one golden nugget to your 18-year-old self. What would it be?
I think for me, I think it's you'll grow from your mistakes, so it's okay. You learn more from your mistakes than you realize. So actually, mistakes are okay. I think as an ego thing, you always feel like, oh, I don't make mistakes, especially as like a 22-year-old kid coming out of uni. It's just like, I know everything. You don't, and actually make those mistakes, and you'll learn from them.
Yeah,
and you'll grow.
Yeah, It's a tough. I think it's similar, I guess, but I think it goes with that enjoying the journey. I think just rather than, I think I was always wishing away time, saying, well, I'll be happy or I'll be content when the business is secure and I can be safe. Whereas actually, there's never any safety really. Like you just have to sit content with uncertainty. I think if you can try and get to that state of mind early, then you can just enjoy life more freely.
Yeah.
And just if you can accept uncertainty, I think that's the key. I think for more entrepreneurs, there's never safety, because you might only get some policies changed by the government that might completely bankrupt you or change things. You never know what's going to happen. You can only control what you can control and what you can't control. So I think I'm just encouraging myself to sit with uncertainty and be content with that.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice. And if only we had that DeLorean, eh? Okay, so I mean, you guys have been very successful, and I mean, it's really refreshing to hear, you're still really enjoying the journey and you're very passionate about what you do. But what would you say that it is that, if you could encapsulate that, what is it that really inspires you, that puts that fire in your belly to do what you do each day, each week, each month?
I think for me, it's the fact that I still really enjoy it, and just going out there and doing what we're doing, just enjoying it. But there's something that really sort of gave me a little extra drive recently. I basically went out and had to do some deliveries after a wholesaler had gone bust on us, and our customers needed stock. So we're like, okay, so it was just like one of those things. It's like, you see a recent challenge for us was the fact that a lot of in the drinks industry is going through a tough time at the moment. A lot of pubs going bust, and wholesalers are struggling. And this wholesaler went bust, owed us quite a lot of money, and basically these pubs need to stop. So it was not the best week, and so I had to go do 12-hour driving around Norfolk, around Suffolk, to deliver these pubs. And so it was a little bit of I felt like a tough day. But anyway, I was going around and I was speaking to these publicans, and they were saying, and one thing she said was basically, it was, we have a couple of customers that come to our pub especially just to drink your product because they like it so much, and it's just like, oh wow, like, and then suddenly the rest of the day was so much easier.
Yeah.
And just thinking that drive, be like, oh cool, we do make a quality product, and people are going to this pub especially just to drink our product because that's what she was saying. It's just nice, and she was raving about it and how much people love it. So stuff like that really helps. Yeah, really helps.
I think I would categorically say that if me and Ben weren't doing it together, we probably would have given up a long time ago. So I think actually one of the drivers is it's so nice being able to do it with your brother, and you've got so much trust in each other, and you're on the journey together, and you're going to look in 10 to 15 years time thinking that was some golden years that we should have enjoyed that. So I think that's for me, that's one of the constant drivers is just being able to do it together.
A lot of people that do it on their own, I'll find for them.
I think it can be incredibly lonely, even if you've got identical twin doing it with you. So I think I can't imagine not doing it with someone else.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. I mean, and it's really good, like you've just said there, Dan, that you get to do this with your brother every day, sort of, and that support infrastructure that you've got working with each other as well, and helping each other through the challenging times that we all know business can bring, but then equally being able to celebrate those successes and those wins.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, okay, then just to close us off then, guys, I mean, no doubt people are definitely going to want to find out more about you guys and more about your business. So, what's the best way for people to get in touch to sort of like find out a bit more and sort of see if they can, get to know you and get to know your business a bit more?
So our website is probably the best place. So or Instagram, but our website is www.drinkcranes.co.uk, or you can actually get it on there as www.cranescider as well.co.uk. We've got both.
Of course.
And then I think most of our handles on Instagram is Cranecider, and Twitter or X.
If you Google Cranecider, we'll come up.
Yeah,
we'll be waiting with you.
Fantastic.
There's not going on at the moment, which is really exciting. We've got a new product launch at the moment, which is quite exciting. Something a bit different. But
don't know if we can.
Do you want to share that with us now as to what the new product launch is?
It's been quite successful in the last 9 months. It's been a long development. And basically it's a new low alcohol cider. So it's raspberry and lemongrass. But what we've done is it's a bit unique. I don't know if anyone else has done it in the market, but basically we've used, because obviously kombucha is fermented tea with SCOBY, and basically it ferments the sugars to create alcohol, and then there's bacteria in there that then eat the alcohol to then create acid. So kombucha is like a fermentation process, but there's no alcohol in it because it's been eaten by the bacteria. So we're using the SCOBY, but with our cider, to create a low alcohol cider that's like kombucha but not. So Yeah,
I don't know who else anyone else is doing it in the market, but we've just got it bottled and it tastes amazing.
yeah,
I'm really excited about it.
really tough. It's the way the markets are changing. It's addictive to things, and people are saying obviously there's more and more percentage of consumption within pubs that is going to no and lows rather than alcoholic products. So you've got to keep it with the times, make sure the range is complete. We've already had a low alcohol apple cider, so we've decided to increase our range to include a fruit cider low, and we thought we'd trial and see how a kombucha style one went. So we're quite excited.
Well, I look forward to trying some of that very soon. So listen, guys, Ben, Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you guys a bit more and finding out more about your business. Thank you so much for being on this episode of the Business Spotlight.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much. And for everybody watching and listening, that's a wrap. That is the Business Spotlight. We'll see you all again very soon. Take care. Bye for now.